EU ambivalent on UN probe into Saudi slaughter of migrants. By Nikolai Nielsen. The European Commission suggested it won't support a possible independent UN-backed inquiry into the alleged mass killings of Ethiopian migrants and asylum seekers by Saudi border guards. Asked on Thursday, the 31st of August, if it would back a resolution to set up such an inquiry, Nabila Massrali, a spokesperson from the EU's foreign policy branch, said they would instead raise the allegations directly with Saudi Arabia and the Houthi de facto authorities in Yemen. These are serious allegations that need to be further investigated in order to ensure accountability, she said, noting they welcome the investigations announced by Ethiopia to conduct a joint inquiry with Saudi Arabia over the reported killings of hundreds of people as recently documented by Human Rights Watch. She also said that the Commission would support dialogue with Yemen and others at the UN Human Rights Council, where such a resolution would be adopted. But the ambivalent response on whether they would support a possible resolution is likely to raise further concerns that the brutal leadership under Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, MBS, will go unchallenged and unpunished. It would be devastating, honestly, if the global attention isn't matched with an institutional response, Nadia Hardman, who authored the Human Rights Watch report on the Saudi killings, told Euobserver. Her report says hundreds, possibly thousands, of mostly Ethiopian migrants and asylum seekers had been killed by Saudi border forces over the span of 15 months along the Yemen border. We need an independent investigation to really assess the abuses and the killings, she said. That investigation could take shape at the upcoming UN Human Rights Council in Geneva. UN experts had also last October highlighted similar allegations of mass killings by the Saudi authorities. And a recent New York Times article suggested EU officials had been briefed on those atrocities the following December, months before Hardman's report went public. The rise of Saudi Arabia. The European Commission was unable to provide any immediate information on whether the UN allegations made in October had been raised by the EU's foreign policy chief, Josep Borrell, during his official meetings with Saudi officials. Borrell met with Saudi's Minister of Foreign Affairs in February in Brussels and held subsequent discussions with him over the phone in May. The exchanges are part of a wider EU strategy announced last year to cozy up to the Gulf states. But Borrell is also courting the Saudis to quell Russia's invasion in Ukraine as the 38-year-old MBS continues to crack down on any dissent at home, while at the same time spending large sums of money, especially on sports, to improve the kingdom's image abroad. A Saudi $650 billion, €597 billion, wealth fund known as the Public Investment Fund, PIF, is largely behind the whitewashing, says Joey Shea, an expert on Saudi Arabia at Human Rights Watch. We are concerned that the Public Investment Fund itself has been complicit in human rights abuses and may have been directly involved in human rights abuses, she said. She said numerous companies have been transferred into the PIF, including Sky Prime Aviation, which owns the jets that took a squad of assassins to Istanbul to murder Jamal Khashoggi, a Saudi dissident and Washington Post columnist. In early August, Saudi Arabia had also hosted the Jeddah summit where some 40 countries came together to discuss a possible peace plan in Ukraine. The summit is largely seen as part of Riyadh's diplomatic strategy to assert its rising regional role while its coffers swell due to a surge in oil and gas prices. The meeting in Saudi Arabia was certainly a diplomatic success because of the number of countries attending, Borrell said on Thursday ahead of a meeting among EU foreign ministers in Spain. The comments came after Saudi authorities handed a death sentence to Mohammed Al-Ghamdi, a retired Saudi teacher, for tweets criticizing the Saudi royal family. Saudi Arabia's Kingdom Holding Company is one of the largest shareholders of X, formerly known as Twitter. The company's chief executive and founder is Prince Al-Walid bin Talal, a royal family member.
Then one thing that has kept me very busy and very sorry and very frustrated is Ethiopia. Not enough people talk about it. We don't talk a lot about Ethiopia. Yes, from time to time when there is peace discussions, But what has happening in Tigray is the most deadly war. We complain rightly about what's happening in Ukraine, but what happened in Ethiopia is really awful. The figures that we have is that between 600,000 and 800,000 people being killed. Can you imagine? And most of them by famine, not fighting, but by famine, cutting humanitarian support, cutting electricity, cutting any kind of public services, and that for months and months. And I remember that this being done by a government which its president or prime minister is a Nobel Prize laureate. We went to Ethiopia at the first visit of the College of the Commissioners because Ethiopia was a light of hope in Africa, and the Ethiopian government was presented as someone who made peace in Tigray with the Eritreans, and things looked very good, and some months later the war started. You can't discuss politically who is to be blamed for the reason for the war to start, but the result is that for months and months this has been a continuous violation of human rights at a massive scale. And we talk about 800,000 people being killed. There is not such a mortality in any other place in the world caused by a war.